So, Ted, it's Grizz. You remember that video I made a while back about who you could be? Yeah, you pretty much got everything wrong in that video, you know, kid. Well, Ted, that's where you're wrong. After seeing that new Splatoon 3 trailer, I think I have a pretty good idea who you are, Ted. It's Grizz. Grizz. G-R-I-Z-Z. It's not that hard to say. Okay, Ted. Welcome back to another Splatoon theory. A while ago, I made a video. A theory, you could say. A splat theory. Okay. About one of, if not the biggest mysteries in Splatoon. Who is Ted B? Also known as Mr Grizz. It's an inside joke on the Discord server. You know, I'll just call him Mr Grizz from now on, okay? What do we currently know about Mr Grizz? Is a talking bear radio statue thingy-mabobby. That's quite a title. He owns his own company, seems to have a lot of interesting golden eggs, knows quite a fair bit about salmonids, and underpays his workers. Like, come on, Ted, what is this? As you might be able to guess from this isn't very much information about who or what Mr Grizz really is. But maybe if we break down this information, we can see what each little part needs and try and make the picture a tad bit clearer on who Mr Grizz actually is. So let's start off with the biggest thing we've seen from that last Splatoon 3 trailer. Briscoe's still active. And so you might be asking, well, what does that have to do with Mr Grizz's true identity? And out of all honesty, nothing. Well, at least nothing at this stage. You see, Splatoon games tend to make the story mode not affect the online play. If Mr Grizz was involved and was a villain of some sort in Splatoon 3 story mode, that would affect Salmon Run, in return affecting the online play. You see where I'm going with this? At the same time, you could argue that Splatoon 1 and 2 story modes, DLC and all that sort of stuff, does kind of affect the online play due to the octolings and hero weapons and everything else. The main issue with that argument is it doesn't actually affect the online play itself, due to the octolings just basically being a skin for the Inklings, and the hero weapons just being a skin for the regular weapons. Now, if you were to get the actual hero weapons, that would be a totally different story. So, with this factor alone, there's a really big pin in the tin that has been of this question. Who is Mr Grizz? With this factor alone, we can dismiss anyone who was physically shown in the Splatoon 3 story mode trailer. Me and editing? Cross out everyone who we've seen in the Splatoon 3 trailer. Thank you. The second factor that I'd like to point out is how much money Grizzco has, and also when it seemed to pop up in the Splatoon universe. Yes, these two factors might be a bit more connected than you think. First, let's talk about when Grizzco popped up. Grizzco seemed to have popped up sometime between Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 2, and it seems like Grizzco's using a lot of outdated technology. If we compare that to Splatoon 3's Grizzco, it's got new tech, better transport, suitable, suits, and even a better workplace. This just shows how much Grizzco has grown from Splatoon 1 to Splatoon 3. Maybe even starting to branch out the business into a franchise. Who knows? So what can we take away from this to help us find out who Mr Grizz actually is? Well, with this alone, I'm sorry to say, not much. But when we combine it with the previous factor, the puzzle starts to come together. For starters, we already have a list of characters crossed off by future me. We also have to keep in mind whoever Mr Grizz is obviously had a fair bit of money. Maybe someone who got rich, or maybe a new character that popped up between Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 2. With all my current evidence laid out on the table, that leads me to two suspects. Little Judd and Spike. You know, the ones I was least expecting in my past video. So, why them? Well, with the current information I've laid out, both these suspects don't appear to be too heavy in Splatoon 3's story mode. We have seen Judd and Little Judd, but they haven't physically been shown, and we don't even know if they're involved in the online play even. Normally, Judd is shown off very early, but Judd hasn't been shown whatsoever in the multiplayer trailers, which is really starting to raise some suspicion here for me. And And if you remember from one of the Sunken Scrolls, Spike came across a large amount of money from doing his shady business. How do we know that Grizzco wasn't opened from that shady business? So, to iron out who I think it is, I've got one more factor to help rule out my decision. The gear. You know, the ones Mr. Grizz gives you for working a shift. The ones that you can't get from the shops in Inkopolis. You know, the ones from different companies that wouldn't give out their gear. Especially to kids who are going to be fighting in it. You see where I'm going with this? Someone who's not in the Splatoon free story mode, won't affect online play, is rich, and is an expert in finding gear. Squids and octopies, I give you Mr. Grizz's true identity. It's none other than Spike himself. Well, at least I think so. I'd like to say Spike fits this theory 100%, but he doesn't. There are a few loose ends like Mr. Grizz's knowledge on salmonids, but at the same time, how do we not know that there's an internet equivalent in the Splatoon universe that has a lot of information about salmonids? And well, we really don't know. As I said, Spike doesn't 100% fit the character, more like a 99% fit, but it's my best guess, and I'd like to hear your guesses in the comments below. So, what do you think, Ted? It's Grizz, kid, and you'll never find out who I am. Never. Sure thing, Ted. It's Grizz. Grizz. Sure thing, Ted.